So let's talk about World War Two, because that's very possibly the reason why you are reading When the Sky Falls in class. And World War Two has always been fascinating for me, because it was kind of the war that changed everything in my mind. If you think back to World War One, which was I think 1914 to 1918, it was a very different war, because for the people of England it was kind of removed from them. The men that signed up, well, for starters, they thought they were signing up for the most wonderful, incredible adventure with all their friends, and it would be about camaraderie, and they all mostly thought that the war would be over very, very quickly. And they signed up and they marched off to war, and it was happening overseas, largely in trenches in places like France. And the English trench would be here and the German trench would be here, and it would be about trying to make gains and trying to beat the enemy back. World War Two was really different though, because World War Two, by the time that came around in 1939, technology had changed. The world had changed, and for example, planes were a much bigger part of it. And what that meant was that on both sides, a lot more bombing went on. So the danger wasn't just for the soldiers that were away fighting; it was all for the people that were left at home. So, we get to the thing of air raid sirens, the notion that every time the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, were coming over and a city was in danger of being bombed, all of a sudden the air raid siren would sound and people would have to dash underground or to Anderson shelters at the bottom of their garden to try and keep themselves safe from the bombing. But of course, the other thing that happened as well was the mass evacuation of children from the cities. It's reported that around 1.5 million children across the UK were sent from cities to rural places, to the countryside, which were far less likely to be bombed. So what I'd like you to do really is think a little bit about how that must feel. How would it feel to be a child growing up in the middle of war? It's really interesting because the man that gave me the idea for When the Sky Falls, when the war broke out, he was 7 or 8 years old and he was living in Manchester. And he actually remembers it as being incredibly exciting. He didn't feel scared or in danger. He actually felt excited. It felt like there was a brilliant adventure going on around him. And he used to be excited to go out and comb the streets for bits of bombs or tail fins off German Messerschmitt planes. And for him, it was almost like playtime. But it wouldn't be like that for everyone, would it? So try and go away and think about how it might be to be a child that's evacuated at the age of 8 or 9 or sometimes younger, being taken away from your family. So your dad's already marched off to war, and you're sent away from your mum or your gran or your grandpa, and you're sent to live in a part of a country with people that you don't know, with new siblings that you don't know, in a school you don't know. Try and think about how that might feel. Or even what you might want to do, one exercise might be to read chapter 1 from When the Sky Falls, which is all about when Joseph arrives in the big city for the first time. Because don't forget, Joseph's not been sent out of the city. His behaviour is so bad, he's been sent into the city. So read the first chapter again and then try and rewrite that chapter from Joseph's point of view. Try and get inside his head. Almost imagine that you're walking in his shoes. Try and be empathetic to what he might have been going through. So try and write down what Joseph sees when he walks into that crowded train station for the first time. But also use your other senses too. When you're writing, bringing other senses alive is a really great way of writing great fiction. So don't just think about what he sees, think about what he hears and what he smells as well. Because by writing something like that, a chapter or a page like that, it will really throw you into that historical period of World War Two, and you might have a much better sense then of what it would be like to be a child living and growing up in such volatile and scary and exciting times. So I really hope that the period of World War Two comes alive for you, that you learn about rationing and that you learn about evacuation and air raids, and I hope the world comes to life. Happy reading. See you soon.